They said she couldn't win on clay, yet she dismantled Grabher in straight sets, pushed to within 6 points of toppling Ostapenko, earned her place in the Stuttgart main draw, and now the tennis gods have delivered the most poetically charged first-round clash of the entire 2026 clay season. So stop everything, put your phone down, turn the volume up, switch on airplane mode. Because what the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix draw ceremony has produced is not just a match, it is a cultural spectacle. A generational collision, the kind of pairing so perfectly scripted that even screenwriters would reject it for being too dramatic, too symmetrical, too impossibly ideal to be real, yet it is real, and it unfolds on Monday, April 13th at the Porsche Arena in Stuttgart, Germany, on indoor clay, Alexandra Eala versus Leylah Fernandez, the Philippines versus Canada. Filipino blood on both sides of the net, lefty versus lefty, a homegrown Filipino warrior forged at the Rafael Nadal Academy facing a Filipino-Canadian prodigy who stormed to a U.S. Open final at just 18 years old, two athletes whose roots trace back to the same archipelago, separated by 21 ranking spots, 0 previous head-to-head encounters, and vastly different career paths, now set to collide on European red clay at one of the most prestigious indoor tournaments in the world. And if you underestimate Leylah Annie Fernandez for even a second, you've already made a fatal tactical mistake, because she is not just another name. On the draw sheet, she is a 5-time WTA champion with titles in Monterrey twice, Hong Kong, Washington, D.C. at the WTA 500 level, and Osaka. While Eala is still chasing her first, she has walked stages Eala is still dreaming of, stood under the lights of a U.S. Open final at Flushing Meadows in 2021 at just 18, defeating Naomi Osaka, Angelique Kerber, Alina Svitolina, and Aryna Sabalenka in consecutive rounds before falling to Emma Raducanu in the final. And that is not just a resume, it is a battle log, proof of a player who has traded blows with the elite on the biggest stage, reached a career-high ranking of world number 13, currently sits at 21 spots above Eala, is coached by her father Jorge Fernandez, who built her game from the ground up with a philosophy rooted in aggression, variation, and an almost uncanny ability to elevate under pressure. She speaks 3 languages fluently, captured the 2019 Roland Garros Jr. title as the first Canadian since Eugenie Bouchard, and her Filipino-Canadian heritage adds an entirely new layer to this clash, transforming it from a compelling opener into a cultural shockwave, because Fernandez proudly embraces her Filipino roots through her mother Irene, connecting her to the same 115 million people rallying behind Eala, creating a dynamic the tennis world has never witnessed before. 2 players with Filipino blood meeting on the WTA stage for the first time in history, on indoor clay in Germany, with a round of 16 clash. Against 5th seed Jasmine Paolini waiting, and while the Eala army respects every opponent, its loyalty will not waver on Monday, because it stands firmly behind Alexandra Eala, and now the tactical chess match begins, where things become even more fascinating, because both players are left-handed, a rare breed making up roughly 10% of the tour, and when 2 lefties meet, the entire geometry of the court flips. Patterns designed to disrupt right-handers suddenly neutralize. Wide serves. In the ad-court curve into forehands instead of dragging opponents off court, cross-court forehands that usually target backhands now feed directly into strength, forcing both players to recalibrate every instinct in real time, turning this into a mirror duel, a chessboard where both sides move identical pieces, and in many ways Fernandez represents a glimpse into Eala's future, as Fernandez at 23 holds 5 titles while the 20-year-old Eala still seeks her first. Fernandez has a Grand Slam final. Eala has yet to pass the opening round of a major. Fernandez has over 300 career wins, Eala just over 200. The experience gap is undeniable, yet the trajectory tells a different story, because Fernandez's 2026 campaign has been brutal with just 4 wins against 9 losses heading into Stuttgart, a record that reflects a player searching for rhythm and confidence after early exits across Brisbane, Adelaide, the Australian Open, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Dubai, Indian Wells, and Miami. The spark that once carried her through epic battles against Osaka and Sabalenka at Flushing Meadows is not gone but flickering, while Eala arrives in Stuttgart with momentum, holding a 15-9 record that includes a semi-final in Auckland, quarter-final runs in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, 4th-round appearances at Indian Wells and Miami, a career-high ranking of world number 29, wins over Donna Vekic, Jasmine Paolini, and Diana Yastremska, and a razor-close 2-set loss to Ostapenko on clay decided by just 6 points. The momentum is hers, the form is hers, and most importantly the hunger is hers, that relentless, burning drive to claim a first WTA title, and in tennis hunger is a weapon that pure talent alone cannot defend against. Yet talent is exactly what makes Fernandez so dangerous even in poor form. Her forehand is a surgical weapon capable of changing direction mid-swing. Her backhand produces angles that defy geometry. her movement at 5 feet 6 inches is explosive and tireless, covering the court with such efficiency it feels like she teleports between shots, and her competitive fire, the same fire that fueled her unforgettable 2021 US Open run, can ignite instantly, because a player like Fernandez does not need perfect form, she needs a spark, one early break, one emotional surge from the crowd, one forehand winner that clips the line. And suddenly the 4-9 record disappears and the Grand Slam finalist re-emerges, which is exactly why Eala must approach this match with absolute precision, focus, and zero margin for complacency. Intensity, that same relentless intensity she brought against Ostapenko and Linz, has to return, not necessarily the result but the mindset, the 88% first serve accuracy, the ruthless breakpoint conversion, the tactical discipline that kept her within striking distance of a former French Open champion on clay, and if Eala brings that exact level into the Porsche Arena on Monday, Fernandez's current form will not be enough to absorb the pressure, but everything hinges on the second serve, because the lesson from Linz must be applied here. That 0% second serve win rate against Ostapenko was the fine line between victory and defeat, and against a returner as aggressive and precisely timed as Fernandez, any weak second serve will be punished with the same brutal efficiency, which is why the Rafael Nadal Academy has spent nearly a full week refining this exact issue, adjusting the spin, sharpening the placement, disguising the delivery, and most importantly keeping it away from the center of the box where Fernandez can step in and attack, and if Eala steps onto that court with even slight improvement on her second serve, the entire tactical balance shifts dramatically in her favor, while the indoor clay in Stuttgart adds another layer to this battle, because unlike outdoor clay in Linz, the Porsche Arena offers a controlled environment with consistent bounce, zero wind interference, and slightly quicker court speed due to precise surface management. And for Eala, who already has 2 competitive clay matches under her belt, these conditions could become a hidden advantage, as the predictable bounce sharpens her timing, the controlled lighting enhances shot precision, and the faster pace complements her aggressive return game that has already secured 36.7% of return games throughout the 2026 season. Whereas Fernandez arrives after competing on Charleston's green clay, a completely different surface that demands its own adjustments, and with just 1 win there before an early exit, her 1-1 clay record this season offers no clear indication of rhythm or dominance, making this matchup feel like a coin toss, and coin toss scenarios in first-round WTA 500 battles are exactly where Eala thrives. But what makes this even more compelling is what lies ahead, because the draw is stacked with narrative potential, as the winner of Eala versus Fernandez advances to face 5th seed Jasmine Paolini, the 2024 French Open finalist, the same player Eala dismantled 6-1, 7-6 in Dubai earlier this year in one of her most commanding performances, and if Eala clears that hurdle, a quarterfinal showdown against top seed Elena Rybakina or Diana Schneider awaits, followed by a potential semi-final collision with Iga Swiatek, now working with Tomasz Wiktorowski, creating subtle tactical connections that the media has barely begun to analyze. Turning this draw into something far beyond a bracket, it is a cinematic storyline unfolding in real time. Beginning with Eala versus Fernandez on indoor clay inside the Porsche Arena, with a brand new Porsche 911 Carrera S Cabriolet sitting courtside, waiting for the champion who survives 5 grueling rounds in one of the most competitive WTA 500 fields of the season. But before any of that becomes reality, Monday must happen, the first serve must land, the first rally must ignite, and 2 left-handed players with Filipino heritage must step onto opposite sides of the net to compete for more than just a place in the second round, because they are battling for momentum, ranking points, confidence heading into Madrid and Roland Garros, and for Eala, the continuation of a clay court story that began with a dominant win over Grabher, evolved through a heartbreaking 6-point loss to Ostapenko, and now enters its 3rd chapter against a former Grand Slam finalist on one of the most iconic indoor clay stages in the sport, and the Eala army already knows what to do, full mobilization, every supporter activated, share this moment everywhere, tag every Filipino and Canadian tennis community, because this is not just another match, it is the most culturally significant first-round clash of the clay season, and the conversation does not end here, it begins here, with tactics, with strategy, with debate. How should Eala navigate the lefty versus lefty geometry? What serve patterns disrupt a returner like Fernandez? How does she stabilize that second serve under pressure? This is where the audience transforms into analysts, turning the comment section into a tactical laboratory, because this moment is bigger than rankings, bigger than predictions. It is about heritage, identity, and the unstoppable rise of Filipino tennis on the global stage. 2 left hands, 2 Filipino hearts, 1 court, 1 winner, and the Porsche Arena is not ready for what is coming. And here is the truth the establishment does not want to admit. They frame this as a mismatch, world number 25 versus world number 46, 5 titles versus none, Grand Slam finalist versus early exits. On paper, Fernandez is the favorite. The models give her the edge. The bookmakers lean in her direction. Even prediction systems place her at a 56% probability to win. But paper does not play tennis. Paper cannot measure momentum. It cannot calculate the fire of a 20-year-old who came within 6 points of beating a Grand Slam champion on clay just days ago and immediately stepped back onto the battlefield instead of retreating. It cannot quantify the mindset forged daily at the Rafael Nadal Academy, where every point is treated like survival and every match like a final, and it certainly cannot account for the force of 115 million Filipinos rallying behind one athlete in real time, because Fernandez has felt pressure before on the biggest stages, but she has never faced this kind of energy, never stood across from a player backed by a movement rather than just a ranking, a movement that does not fade, does not rest, and does not accept defeat as anything more than a temporary step towards something historic. And while Eala's overall clay record may still be developing, her 2026 trajectory tells a different story: one win over a clay specialist, one razor-close battle against a Grand Slam champion, a small sample size but an explosive upward trend. And if she adds a victory over a 5-time WTA champion and former Grand Slam finalist on indoor clay, the narrative does not shift quietly, it detonates, it reshapes the conversation entirely, forcing the tennis world to confront a reality it has been slowly realizing since Eala first stepped onto the courts of the Rafael Nadal Academy, that she is not just a promising player tied to one surface, she is a rising force capable of adapting, evolving, and conquering regardless of conditions, and it all comes down to this moment, Monday, April 13th. Porsche Arena, indoor clay, a left-handed mirror match, a clash of Filipino heritage, the most loaded opening round of the 2026 clay season.